Hello and welcome to this crash course. What we're going to be doing now today is to build out this fantastic looking application, right? And it's actually a full stack application. So we're going to start up, by building the UIs first. Like I'll build out the landing page, which is the home page, then go over to the shop and so on, right? So then we'll start the actual implementation of this application from the backend, right? So far, this is how far we've come. I'm going to show you, demo it to you what we have currently. You can access it via this link. And this is it. This is what we have. Looking good. This is the hero section. So scroll down. You basically have the range section. Scroll down a bit, you have the product section. So when you hover over a product, you kind of see that cool, lets you effect that we have there, right? So that's actually done with Figma motion, kind of basic. And also we have this setup section, right? And then we have the footer, right? So this is good. And then you can check out the shop part by clicking on the shop button. So this should take you to a page where you can view more of those products. So don't worry, most of this product will actually be coming from the actual endpoint, right? You can see show here, you can actually select whatever you want to show and so on. You can select a filter that you want to filter by, right? So these are the things that will basically like integrate with an actual endpoint in the future. So you can see we have more of the products here because this is more of a product page, and then we can have a custom navigation, right? So if you click on it, it takes you to the other page, right? So, but the way we want to do it during the integration, we want to make sure that it doesn't reload the page. It just, fetches new data and update the virtual DOM instantaneously. And also we have the banner section here, and then we have the footer. So this is what we'll be building in this very first module of the application. And then yes, I would actually love to hear you guys feedback regarding what you want to be you want integrated in this platform, right? Because I've already like demoed a couple of things that has to do with the backend architecture and so on. So these are the things that we'll be going through during this lesson, right? So all right. All right, so yeah, so let's grab the mobile version of this. I forgot to demo this, like minimize this a bit. And obviously, just take us back to the initial stage, which is this. Good, good, good. So I'm going to do is going to demo it here. Okay, so put it around here, and you can see this is our navigation. Very good. And then scroll down, you can see the way that every component is pretty much responsive. We still have all the cool features within it, and all the details are still there. And then we have the filter. So this is the mobile version of this application, right? All right. So let's get started. All right, and welcome back. So this is actually the last section, the last episode, you may say. And the point of this is for us to link our platform to Stripe. The point is we want to be able to make payments and obviously just send some email and those stuffs. So what we'll be doing is we already have our checkout, all all built out. So what you can do is when you trigger this, the next thing you basically see this channel, right? So we've already worked on this in the previous lesson, where if those information are actually filled, all you have to do is to update it. So we don't create like duplicate copies. We basically persist it in the state. So now the main focus of today's lesson is actually this section, right? So what I want to do is immediately I click on place order. I need to be redirected to the Stripe checkout page. So I'll click on this. So I'll be redirected to a page that looks exactly like this. So now that is actually good, right? So for us to be able to achieve this, I need to show you quite a couple of things, right? So this is something I've done just to save us a little bit of time. I'm going to go to the folder. I'm just going to close out on all of this. And click on source. And we're going to go to the library, and then we have the actions. Here I've added the payment action. So what the payment action does is it's actually server action. And what we're doing is I have included quite a couple of methods or functions, as you may call them, server action. And now what we have is we have the billing ID, then we have the product. So I'm taking the billing ID. So the billing ID is what we've already like created. I'm going to just go back here a bit. Don't mind my network. So I'm going to go back here. So whenever we save, I'm going to just refresh this quickly. So whenever we actually save, our billing, we have a billing ID, right? So this is actually very positive because we're persisting this in the local story. So I'm going to click on that. Then we have our, so we have our billing ID. So this here is our billing ID. So now that we have this, it's very cool. And we can use this subsequently to trigger out, to be able to like generate a checkout link. So what we do, I've actually, so I check basically if the billing ID exists. So if it doesn't exist, it just returns a value, a response saying that the billing ID is invalid. And then what I'm now doing is I'm trying to compute, well, this is actually part of what we already have, right? So we try to compute the subtotal, the total amount to be paid. And it's very easy, like the way we've explained before. We're getting the product here. So the product we are getting here is actually of a different schema. So I'm going to go here. I'm taking in the ID and the quantity. If you notice, I'm not taking price here. So why you shouldn't take price from from the client is it can actually be easily manipulated. So if you take price here, for example, that means you're going to be using this price to compute. So what happens if your endpoint gets into the wrong end is they can actually just alter the value of the price, and boom, you're now they're actually now paying less than expected. So we don't want that to be the case. So that's why we're taking the ID and the quantity. We'll take the price ourselves by doing the calculation. All right. So yeah. So this is exactly how we go about that. So what we're doing here is that we iterate over the list of the product ID and quantity, and then we have the selected product. So we already have our product list. Is actually a JSON. Or this is where the price and other price and whatever, this is where they are actually like listed, right? So what we are doing is for us to be able to know, we only take in the ID and quantity. Not don't forget that, and we can get the price from here, right? Because this is where the actual price is. So we have the selected product, then we get the price from the selected product dot price, right? But then the quantity on the other end, we can get a quantity from the UI, so that doesn't really like matter much, right? So this is exactly how we compute the total. So we sum them together, and then we have the total, right? So now that we have the total, and the very next thing that is actually very relevant for you to do is that always keep track of your metadata. So whatever it is that Stripe is giving to you, or whatever you are passing into Stripe or whatever, you have to save it as part of your metadata and put it within your actual DB. Right, so here I'm actually saving two things, two relevant information. The app product, this contains the product ID as well as the product quantity, and then we have the user billing. So the user billing basically contains the stringified format of of the billing instance. Right, nice. We're keeping track of this just for future reference. All right, so you already know that Stripe basically calculates the price in cent. So if, for example, your currency is actually USD, they kind of calculate it in lower denomination, which is cent. And if, for example, you want to compute for $1,000, but what you get is actually 1,000 times 100, right? That's actually 100,000 cents will give you $1,000. So I think that's actually the point of it. So when we have a setup like that, we can be able to create our checkout. So the way this works basically is we're creating everything on the fly. If you notice, we're not passing any form of like product ID or price ID or whatever, but then we're actually leveraging what Stripe refer to as data. It's just an extension of what you should pass in. For example, if here I can just pass in something that looks like price, then just pass in the price ID. Nice, right? So I don't need this anymore. All right, so I don't need this, right? So, but if you want to pass in the data and create price on the fly, you add, you basically surface it with something like underscore data, and then you just create, you put in all the payload required to create an actual price. So that will do it for you. So I'll take that off quickly. All right, so then there we go. So now we specify our unit amount. The unit amount will basically be the amount we want to charge, which we've already computed. The currency, as we all know, is actually USD. And the product data, if you notice what we're doing here again, we are creating a product, right? So the product data will just be, oh, you want to purchase a piece of furniture, and then we'll pass in our metadata, right? So this metadata we're passing in now will actually be sent to Stripe, and Stripe will basically have a copy of that metadata, which is fine, right? So here we basically specify that we just need one quantity. So now we need to actually build out a page, and this page is where we can actually link to, right? So I think our app itself is actually deployed at, I'm just going to go to Fonero, isn't it? Okay, .versel. Okay, I think there's an arrow there actually. Fonero. Let's try that out. Okay. No. Alright, so let's check our GitHub. We should be able to have the appropriate link. So let's go to repositories. Okay, oh, okay. It's definitely Fonero e-commerce. Okay, there we go. So this is basically, the one we've deployed so far. So this is what we'll be using, by the way, so it's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put in the project in there, the actual app, we put it right in there, and we're going to have a sources page, right? So we can just create a Stripe folder, and then we're going to have sources. So we'll do something very similar with the console. What both of them does basically, for context, is that when you done checking out, when you've made a payment, Stripe will redirect you to this URL, right? If, for example, in the midst of making your payment, decide to cancel it, you're no longer interested, Stripe will redirect you to the cancel URL. All right, so we're going to create both of this page. We've not been created yet, so we're going to just create them, and we're going to go to app, and in app we're going to create a folder called Stripe, and Stripe is going to have another folder, and this will be sources, and within this as well we're going to have a different one. This will be cancel. Okay, cancel, right? So that's a typo right there. So this will actually be cancel, right? So yeah, so we're going to create an actual page, right? So in here we're going to just go here and do page.csx. Okay, React functional component export. Okay, so this is going to be the Stripe sources page. All right, so we're going to do something very similar with this as well. So we're just going to do page CSX, and meanwhile this guy is going to be the console equivalent. All right, yeah. So no, I think that's nice, right? So we just basically need to create, make sure that this page looks good, and for us to be able to see what we've done so far, at least, is that we need to be able to access it from here, Stripe / something like that. So let's see if we can get anything. Okay, I think we should have our server up and running. Boom. Okay, so there we go. So we're going to have this kind of setup, and there we go. So there's no design for this. I'm just going to do this. Payment successful. Right, so it's just going to be some paragraph text. Okay, so I'm going to put this in here. Class name, text, 300 fonts, bold, and let's enlarge this a bit. Sorry about that. Let's do 500. And okay, so nice. Probably just the center. Okay. Say thank you for shopping. sent a receipt to your email. So I'll basically like show you how you can actually send a receipt when the payment is successful later on. So it's pretty much straightforward. And all right, so we can just do this center. Okay, so yeah, I think that should be good. And we just need to style it a bit, and we can come in here. Okay, so that's the py sustain. Okay, and that should be able to like give it some level of space, horizontally and vertically, and empty it. Okay, so let's try this out. Boom, I think that is okay. So we'll just make this one uppercase. So what I normally like to do in cases like this, I like to spice it up a bit. Let's go to Emojipedia. Let's find like confetti or whatever they call it. Say confetti. They have a confetti. I don't know. We'll just find out. There we go. So can I just choose between these and these? I think this is okay, and so with the party face. Okay, so yeah, let's go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I think most guys like to put it like before the actual test than after. Right, yes, I think with this. Okay, so we'll just wait for that to populate. Then boom, I think there we go. And we can actually like make it bigger. Right, so do test 3XL. Let's try that out. Boom, something like that, right? So this basically shows, I think it's too big. Let's do 2XL. Right, so well, I think the bottom line is we basically get the point, right? So when the payment is successful, Stripe takes us to this page, which makes sense. And once the payment fails on the other end, we're going to replicate, what we have here, and we're just going to put it again. Right, so let's make sure that that one is payment failed. So we need like some sad emoji, something like this. Okay, payment failed. Sorry. So kindly try again. Okay, so yeah, I think that makes sense. So if a payment failed, we take them here and we just do red, right? So if a payment failed, we take them to this page and we just tell them payment failed with a sad little emoji, and then we say sorry, your payment failed this time, kindly try again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back here and just check out how it looks like in real life. Right, yeah, I think those are like the two relevant pages we'll be needing for the most part. And yeah, so apart from this, I don't think we'll be needing anything significant, right? So we have the success page, we have the we have the cancel page, right? So yeah, so we can actually go back. You basically have both pages now, which makes sense. And not to worry, even if we get redirected to this, we can just put our local host here so that we can be able to see what we have. So next up, I've been able to I've added a new model, and this new model is referred to as the payment model. So in this payment model, I'm saving the billing ID, then the status. That means if it's pending or if it's paid, right? So is that how it's pending, paid, or cancelled? Okay, no, we could just make it like not paid, right? So not paid, right? So we could have these two. Instead of having pending, we just have not paid, and then we have paid. So I think in our DB entries, I can just like delete out quite a couple of them. I'll just draw this collection quickly so I can show you guys how it looks like. Okay, so now we basically have the billing ID. It's actually a reference of the billing model. The billing model is actually gotten from here, by the way, billing model. And the other thing we are taking is the status, which is we basically have like two enums. values, right? So not paid and paid, they both require. I think the status field is required. Then we have the metadata. We can pass in any object that we want. It's not defined. All right, so we can go back here, and the very next thing we do is we just do this to not paid, so that it doesn't throw this error. Right, so you can see from here we have the metadata. The metadata is actually what we brought out here. So we're saving this as part of the metadata we'll be keeping track of in our local database, as well as orders. So orders is actually everything that Stripe is giving to us from the payment link. When we check out, Stripe gives us some level of like long and latent response. So we save it here as orders, and we just keep track of it. So we want to make sure that everything here, everything we do, whenever you're interacting with a provider, always make sure you keep track of the payload, the response, and so on, so that when the time comes for reconciliation, you wouldn't be blocked. You can be able to like provide all this information on the fly. Okay, so now and what I'm returning here, the payment basically have like the URL. This URL will get redirected to. So yeah, so this is exactly what the server action does, right? So it basically just generates a Stripe checkout URL, does some saving, and then returns us a URL. Okay, nice. So the other part basically revolves around when we want to process our checkout, right? Before we talk about this, let's test out the generation of link, right? So you can see from my DB, I've cleared out all of the models, model entry for payment methods. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click on here, click on checkout. This will take us to the checkout page, by the way. And you can see I'm paying like, I think, whatever this is. Okay, so I think this is not actually the actual value, to be honest. I have to just remove it from here, I think. Let's select the product again. Let's go to a shop and pick like some products. And we're going to use those products for our demo purposes, so that you're in line with what we have. So I'm going to just add review this one. Click on the view. Okay, there we go. So we just give us 2 entry. Let's add it to cart. Boom, we have 2 of this. And we can go to our checkout page and we can close this out. Nice. All right, so now that we have this, we're paying a total of 54,000 for this product. And the way this works is I already have my my billing information set up and so on, right? So I can place order. But in case where the billing information is not found, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take off the billing info, right? So that I can demo this with you guys on in real time. So the billing information is here. You can just take it out, delete, and I'm going to refresh this. So now, as you can see, I've removed the billing from the local store, and we don't have any billing anymore. So if you try to like place order, kindly fill, you have this message, you have to fill your billing information before you can place an order, right? So this is check I've basically added, and if you notice, it's part of the what we have, right? So whenever you have like checkout or something, so whenever you have checkout, let's see where we're having our checkout. That should be around here, maybe. Yeah, checkout. I think we are checking out around here. So let's open it up. I'm going to show you where we are actually, yeah, you can see, this is where we are passing it. So if we don't have any billing ID, but we're getting this from the local store and we don't have any billing in it, we throw this error. So kindly fill your billing information, as you can see. And yeah, so this is it. This is the title, this is the description, right? I just wanted to point that out. So now let's fill our billing information with some random details. Okay, there we go. I think that's good. I'm just going to save that. So this is going to create a new billing information within our database, by the way. So maybe I'll just delete this one, delete the existing one. So let's fetch again. Boom, we have a new one. Right, nice. So now we can actually place an order, right? So let's place an order. So immediately I click on place an order, what's going to basically happen? I'm going to show you the code that controls that. right? So here, this is under checker. So this is the code. First of all, it's going to make sure that it's loading. It's going to make a request to that endpoint we just created. So we already have an endpoint that powers the server action we talked about. So it's actually available in API, then payment, then we have the route. So in this route, you can actually see I've added a kind of a validation. So what we are taking basically from from this endpoint is a billing ID as well as a product. So billing ID is the ID of of your billing, the one we talked about before. And just to be clear, I'll just show you guys again. So the billing ID is basically this guy right here, right? So the product on the other end is a combination, is an array of objects, right? An array of objects that contains the ID field as well as the quantity field, right? So yeah, these two, they are basically required. And this is exactly what we are doing here. Go back there. So we'll pass it in. So basically like filtered through different products that we are having from here, right? Products from our local cart store. So we get the quantity, we get the ID, then we pass it to this endpoint, right? So the endpoint on the other end will call, okay, so let's go back to the endpoint here. So this is the endpoint. So it will validate it, make sure that everything, being passed from the body is correct. If it is not, if we have any form of validation error, it returns this. But if not, it's just going to, what we're going to do here is really interesting, right? I don't know if I've explained this before, but this is what we're doing. So we're going through, I've already typed this. It takes in ID and quantity, right? So for us to get a single product, we can get the ID from here, right? And for us to get the quantity, we can get it from the single product as well, right? So this basically, when you overwrite it has a quantity field. So we can get a quantity from there as well as the ID, right? So you can actually get both, as a matter of fact, from there. So I think one of the thing you could as well just do, okay, product ID, already have it, single, just curious. So single product dot ID. Okay, so yeah, I don't think you should even call this, to be honest. Yeah, but yeah, it's important for us to call this. Why we're calling this is because we need to be aware if the product actually exists, right? So if the product does not exist in the database when you're trying to do some sort of injection or manipulation, we return an error that's saying that that product is invalid. So we we run this check to make sure that we always have that product. So that makes sense. It's actually bulletproof right there. All right, so the next thing we have is right here. So here we want to actually like generate the Stripe checker URL. So this is where we are calling the server action that we talked about earlier, right? So server action is responsible with doing all of this stuff, and then basically returns us a URL. Okay, so we'll go back to the route. So now that we have that, we just return this, right? So this endpoint will return the checkout link that contains a URL with the actual checkout URL. So we go back to our checkout detail page, right? So whenever we make this request, if it's successful, we know that it returns us a URL, right? It returns us a URL field. So this is where we will route the user out to, right? So we'll route the user to there, and we're good for the first part of this implementation. Right, so now let's test it in real life. So we're going to just proceed with this checkout, and we're going to keep track of our database now. We're going to still check out what we're having here, right? So we're trying to process the request. It's loading. Not paid is not a valid enum value for path status. Oh, that's true. Why that is true is because I think we already have a kind of, let me refresh this, a setup in our DB, and we need to basically change that as well. Okay, go to our models, payment model. We have not paid here. Okay. Alright, so let's do pending. Okay, we don't have pending anywhere. Nice. That means we have to obviously refresh this page. Okay, so let's refresh this and try it again. Okay, so not page. All right, so I think there's actually a couple of things that we have to take care of. So now the first case is the issue of redirection. So let's come in here and okay, so if we have this, right? So if we have this, that's when the redirection should take place. Yeah, so this will actually prevent us from redirecting to undefined, as you can see right there, which doesn't make any sense. Okay, so now let's fix the main problem, right? The main problem we are having can actually be because of the way it's set up, I think, right? I think it's persisted for some reason. Okay. Yeah, I have to restart my server. Yeah. Okay, I have to restart the server real quick. So clear, run it. So why this happened is because don't forget, our server action is basically hooked up with some sort of a caching mechanism. So we're using singleton to retrieve every instance of the server we've already initiated instead of creating a new one every time. Right, so yeah, I think that should just work. So if that is okay, so I can open this up. Okay, put this up right here, close this out, close this out as well. Okay, so yeah, so we'll just wait for it to basically compile. It's gonna take a couple of seconds and we should have the compilation done soon. Okay, so while we are waiting, I will just like show you guys around in terms of what we'll actually be doing. So when we are able to get this to run, ideally we're going to have a payment setup and a payment instance, so to speak. And okay, there we go. We already have it. Go to checkout. So it's loading. Give it a couple of seconds, and we should be there soon. Boom, we're there. All right, so okay, close this up and let's place order again. Okay, so it's loading, it's trying to communicate with Stripe. Boom, we're there. So it was able to successfully communicate with Stripe easily. And you can see that we're paying 54,000 as expected. So we're taking like 2 of those. And that makes sense, right? So now we have to make sure that everything that we've talked about really works. So I'm going to just refresh this. So you can see we have the payment models now. When I click on it, you can see we have this the billing ID. Nice. We have the status, then we have the metadata. Right, so metadata basically contains stringified form of the list of products in our cart, as well as the user billing. So this is actually an instance stringified version of the instance of the billing model. And then we have the others field. So the others field basically just contains everything related to the payment link that Stripe is giving back to us. And also, there's something I would mention. You can always have some other form of like metadata within Stripe as well. Yeah, there are some cases you basically have to specify it and so on. So I'm going to look around. Ideally, Stripe gives you access to the data and resets to it as well. So let's see if we can find any. Okay, if we can, obviously there needs to be a way for us to basically like expose it before we can be able to see those values. Okay, let's check this one out. Nothing there. Nothing there. Okay, yeah, so that means we have to pass in some options here and there. You might want to just check out the docs and so on. Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so this is it. And the next thing we're going to do is we have this one settled, right? Which is good, right? We need to basically like find a way to be able to like update the status when they pay. All right, so this is where the concept of webhook comes into the picture, right? So now we've basically what we've done is to just gonna close out everything. I'm going to go back to what we already have from the very beginning. Right, so what we're having here, as you can see, we have under the API route, we have the payment, and then we have the route webhook, and then we have the route. Right, so the route now basically contains like all of this information. Right, so we're taking a request, and whatever we want to do here, we have to, it has to work. Right, so yeah, so this is already async. So what I'm going to call, I'm just going to await. We already have a function take process stripe webhook event. Very cool. This is actually a server action, and we'll just pass in our request. Right, so forget about the event here. So we'll take everything from the request, and we can go in here. Okay, and one thing with all of this is that you can always set a response, right? So you always need to tell your webhook that, oh, we've been able to like get a successful response or not. So if everything looks good, right, we're going to return maybe a value or something. Okay, so status, right? So you can just put it into a try catch for the most part. Okay, so we'll try catch block, and we're just going to process all of this right here. And the next thing we do is to make sure that if it fails, we're going to, successful. First off, we're going to do this. So if it fails on the other end, we're going to just render this. Okay, so yeah, so we're going to just do none. Or just this. Okay, success doesn't matter. Success, and we have to import the success response method as well as the error response method. Okay, so this is obviously something wrong with the server, unable to process it and all. And yeah, so this is it. This is basically how you interact with your webhook for the most part. So now let's go into where the main thing happens, right? Which is the process Stripe webhook event. So yeah, so what we are doing here, I need to first of all take the signature, right? So we want to construct an event, right? So it requires the signature, requires the webhook secret, and also it requires the body, right? So all of this is basically like straightforward for the most part. So I've not really like implemented it. So I want to take you guys through step by step on how we can go about it. Okay, so what we're going to do when you check out the Stripe docs, it basically has this. I think I will just attach this link to the code itself, so it's easy for you guys to check out as well. So when you're implementing this, you can just I'll just do this. Okay, yeah. So basically, just have a little note right there. Okay, so you can check the so this part you basically need to have like a Stripe account or something, right? So you can be able to use this. So yeah, we have the Stripe login. Oh, I didn't show you guys how you can basically like instantiate Stripe, right? So here you go, right? So all you have to do is to install the Stripe package for Node, right? So it's very straightforward. You can do npm install Stripe. So this will basically like install the Stripe package for you. I already installed it, so I will not do it. So for you to be able to use the Stripe package, you need the Stripe secret key, right? So Stripe secret, this is something I've added to my env already, and you can see it here. So it's very easy for you to be able to get this. You need to go to make sure you are in the test mode, and you need to go to API keys, and then you have your secret key. So when you review this, you're going to have the same value as I just showed you. All right, so I think we are there. So this is basically how you instantiate it. I just needed to mention that. All right, back to what we were discussing about. All right, so yeah, so what we're doing here is first off, we want to get a signature, we want to get a secret, we want to get a body, so we can construct an event. So for us to be able to do that, you need to install the Stripe SDK, right? So when you have this, in case you don't have it, you can just go to Stripe and download it, right? So I think you can just download Stripe CLI. Okay, right here, so we have a documentation for it. So if this is actually the main link, I'm just going to yeah, so basically have it. Boom, there we go. So if you're on Windows, if you're on Linux or Homebrew or whatever, right? So you can basically just follow this setup. Right, so I'm going to add this here so it's easy for you guys as well. So this is actually the first one was for the I think webhook secret or something, right? So I think this other one, this one is for the Stripe CLI. Nice. Okay, so now we have this for the CLI, this for the webhook. Okay, so come in here and just do Stripe webhook. Nice. So I've added both links, so it's easy for you guys to get as well. So you go in here and you just go to GitHub and then you download it. That's all you need. So I've already downloaded mine. I think I have mine in the Stripe CLI folder. So I just created a new folder and I put it here. So in here I can basically just open up any terminal of choice. I already have access to the Stripe, on the top level. So I think the first thing you do is you follow the documentation. It's pretty straightforward. And what you do there is to basically do Stripe login. If you are a new user, me, I'm already logged in, and it might not really make sense for me to log in again. So your parent code is this, parent code that, and so on. You can open a browser at this, right? So let's do that. So copy that. So let's go into paste it right here. So yeah, so then it's trying to authenticate my Stripe CLI, and it's just going to do that. And while that is happening, you can check what you're still seeing here, right? So you can say verify that the parent code belongs to the one showing your Stripe CLI. Let's verify it. Font clean steady exact. So let's see if we have that font clean steady exact, right? So that makes sense. Click on allow access. Boom, access granted. So now we have access to our CLI and we can be able to play around with what we have. So the CLI is configured for my account and so on. All right, so that makes perfect sense. And the next thing to do is we go back to the docs, is to listen, right? So we want to listen to our webhook route. So this is where most folks actually get it twisted, right? So we're going to copy this. And what we're going to do is we're going to just come in here and paste it in. So Stripe is going to listen at this particular route for any webhook event. Maybe you make a payment and so on. So what we're going to do in our case, we're going to make sure that it is pointing to localhost. I think we're on 3000 / API / okay, go back to our code. Okay, / API, right, / payment / webhook and so on. Okay, payment / webhook, right? So this will point to here. This will point to this page, and this page is where we'll now run our processes and so on, right? We have to keep track of of all of this so that we can know that we're getting the right thing. So we had a couple of console logs here, a couple of our loggers, and make sure that things are coming in expected. Okay, so also I'll just console log our event. So if we have an event, okay, something like this, event.data. Okay, yeah, so I think this is it. We can actually listen here. So if I click enter right here, it's going to generate for us a webhook secret. You might be asking, how am I going to get this webhook secret? This is exactly how you get it. So you can get it from here, or there are two ways you do it, right? So you can actually just add your endpoint that will give you a secret, right? But now we're testing locally. We're going to use this method. So I'm going to click enter. and it's going to start listening on that particular port, and it's going to give us a secret. There you go. This is basically our webhook secret. So you can copy this, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this to our env right here. Right, so if you change your env, ideally you basically have to restart your server to make sure that you're still doing the right thing. Okay, so yeah, we'll restart the server to make sure that we are reading the actual env for our webhook secret, and then we're going to try to make a payment. Right, so we're going to just try to pay and see how it goes from there, basically. Right, so yeah, so that's something what we're going to do now. So let's see if our server is up and running. There we go. I'm gonna go back real quick, and I think it's loading now. Okay, is it local 3000? Okay, so I think it's still compiling right here. Okay, it's gonna take a couple of seconds, and we should have something we can interact with for the most part, I think. Oh, nice, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna click on our cart, click on checkout. Okay, so I'm gonna click on like place order, and right, so it's going to load, and boom, it should give us something good. So we have the checkout generated. It will direct us to the Stripe checkout link, and we're gonna wait a couple of seconds here. So my network isn't that strong, but I just hope it comes out quickly. Yeah, so I think when this is fully loaded, we're just going to try to make a payment, which is not going to be successful. Well, it's going to be successful, but then we want to check if we're going to, receive an event, right? So anything you want to basically expect will be coming in from here, right? So you'll be getting it from here. So all those payment intent, session completed, and so on, we'll be getting all of them from here. All right, so let's add a random email. So can I just add like a prefill or whatever you call it? So when you come here, it prefills the user email. I think we should do that, right? So okay, well, not really. You could do that if you want to do it, but there are cases you basically need to put this one, make sure that it is not editable, right? For you to be able to do that, you have to create a Stripe customer and just reference the customer ID when you are generating your checkout. That means that will actually make sure that this is not clickable. Okay, so we have the card, and we're going to use the dummy Stripe card, which is 42424242 to the very end, right? Nice. So we'll choose the expiring date, and then we'll choose a CVC. CVC is any random 3 digits, and I'm just going to pay. So I'm going to pay down, and I'm going to watch here. So I'm paying, I'm getting some event, boom, our webhook was triggered, 200, good sign, good sign. And yeah, it took us to Stripe success. Well, we've not really deployed all of these changes. As you can see from here, we've not deployed any of these changes. That's why we don't see anything in the success page. But ideally, what you should have, just going to go to localhost. Let me close that real quick. I'll convert this to localhost. 3000. Okay. Localhost HTTP, no HTTPS. So ideally, this is what the screen I should see. So we'll be putting all of them together in a bit, but I just wanted you guys to see the process, right? Okay, so that makes sense. Everything is working as expected. We're getting our event. Nice. So one of the things we need to look while we have all of these logs here is to basically track what we are getting. we're tracking the signature, we're tracking the webhook secret, and so on. Okay, so now let's scroll up. So we have our webhook secret, congratulations. We have our signature, nice, right? So this is actually our event. So we have an event here. So when I interact with data that are always like large or whatever, what I normally do for the most part is I copy the entire thing like this, right? So this data here is what we're having here, event.data, right? So this is the data that we're having. So I'm going to copy the entire thing from here. So and here. So in here, this is the data that we're having. I can just like paste it here. So I don't need to rely on the webhook anymore to interact with the data. I already know what to expect, right? So these are the little piece of information that I am expecting, right? So we have the receipt URL, we have every other form of information that lists makes sense. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm just going to go over the relevant thing. We already have the status as succeeded, and then good. So we need to check the event dot type, right? So okay, it's not part of it, but it's within here. Okay, so now that we have the data, what can we do with the data? So yeah, there are a couple of things we can do. We need to make sure that the checkout. All right. So I think one thing that we should have kept track of is the checkout ID. Right. So if the checkout ID matches what we are getting from here, we might be able to make some update. Right. Okay. So I think we should do that. That will make it like way much more easier for us to interact with all of this. You can see we don't have much data to even know who all of this information belongs to, right? So what we're going to do, I'm just going to go into, okay, scroll up a bit. Okay, if I read commands, cancel, nice. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to go to our payment. Obviously, we need where we are saving, or we are generating the URL. Okay, so what we are generating, we need to keep track of this payment link, which we are, by the way. So let's check at DB if we already have access to the payment. Saying I'll delete this. I think we just initiated this one. So we'll go to metadata. We'll go to others. And okay, so we have CS, which is a little bit different from the other one. But let's see if we have the relevant ID. Okay, we have the CS test underscore tests. Check out the session. Okay, we have the invoice creation. No, really, I don't think that is as much of something reasonable. All right, so this is payment status, not paid. Okay, and all right, so let's see. Okay, yeah. So I'm trying to investigate if we could use this one. Let's compare side by side with what we received, right? What we received is quite different. We need a way to be able to like expose all of this information. Okay, so this information has been returned. Is the ID, is the charge, is the amount. Okay. Yeah, there should be a way for us to tap into those information. I'm gonna check around and get back real quick. Okay, so yeah, I checked around. The problem we were having was because of the way I specified the metadata during the creation of the input. So what I've done actually is to go through this. I'm just going to open up the server action up. So when we're checking out, right, instead of putting everything within the payment block, what I'm doing is I create the payment first, and then I pass in the payment as the metadata, right? So you can see what we are doing here. So the metadata was here before under the product data, so we don't need it there. We want it to be at the top level. So when you override, you should be able to see some valuable information, set of key value pairs that you can attach to an object. This can be useful for storing additional information and so on, right? So that means you're actually doing the right thing here. So passing the payment ID, we need to make sure that the value must always be a string, right? So basically, whenever you're passing things in for this key value pair, it takes in like a key boolean or whatever, right? So it doesn't take in an object. So yeah, so we have to basically stringify this to make sure that this is a string. And the next thing we do is we very clear this payment and we just pass it in as a metadata. So what we are going to do here when we are processing our webhook is we have to expose it, right? So by default, it's already exposed. We have it under event.data, the object, the metadata, and then we have the session metadata. So within the session metadata, I'm going to scroll up. I just tested in a bit. And within the metadata, we have here, right? So we have the payment ID, and then this is the payment ID. So we can now use this to basically like modify, our payment ID, right? So if you check in here, you can check here now that we have the status not paid and whatever. So we have to be, set this to paid and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do wait. We don't need to pass in any information. Say note, send email if you want to. So send email to the user if you want to. Right, so this will be like an extra step for you to do. So I'll leave it for you guys to tackle that. It's basically easy. You can actually use any form of service to send email. You can use AWS and SES to send email. You can use Mago, you can use Mailchimp. Just different providers you can use. We're going to await this and we're going to just do something like payment model. Alright, so we have payment model and dot update. Okay, the update one. Okay, so I think we're just going to have a couple of things. Maybe the ID, let's override this and look at the skeletal framework. So all it takes in an update query, I think, and options, right? So the update regression pipeline, update order. Let me just check whether I'm using the update one. Okay, I'm using it here. So the ID that you are passing in as well as the input, something like that. So ID is going to be the payment ID, which is this. So I can just copy this and paste it right in here. Or to make it more cleaner, you can do payment ID here. So you can come in here and say if payment ID running this way. Right, so part of payment ID there. And then we want to change the status. The status here is going to be paid, right? So paid. Yeah, so let's check that out. I think this is actually the flow. So if you want to continue, you can do whatever you want to do. But then if there's actually any error, I want to just, we'll just do invalid processing checkout. Error processing checkout. Right. So yeah, if we don't have the payment ID, that means something is wrong for some reason and so on. So yeah, I think we already have these. Oh, we already have them here. So I'll just take them here. I already put them down as comment. And for this, I can take it and put it here. Nice. So this is actually like to do. I've already done this, and this will just be notes instead. So I'll do the payment information here, and then I just run error. So what we're going to do, I'm going to drop this model. Let's start afresh again. Okay. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to do it locally, right? So let's do localhost instead. Just do, yeah, and I understand that you guys will be setting it up locally as well. So let's do localhost. Localhost, and this is going to be 3000, I think. Yeah, so this is going to call this. So now let's check it out. If everything works as expected, we should be able to have like cool things here. All right, so let's go here. Go to localhost 3000. And all right, so it's still loading, and there we go. We have one item in our cart. All right, so now let's place the order. Okay, so we have this, we just have to pay. So let's do that and keep track of our stuff. Boom, looking good, 200 status. Sorry about this. Okay, and boom, there you go. Our payment is successful. And we have to go check at EB to make sure that everything is expected. So let's refresh this. We have an entry in the payment modules and the status is paid. Right. So this is it, guys. And this is basically how you worry about things like this. So I think one of the things that we want to do is that when we mark on this page, we want to clear out the cart. Right. So if you've already paid for something, we shouldn't have any item in the cart. Right. So I'm going to go to success page. This is very easy. So we're going to use this with a use effect hook. And in console, it's okay for it to be around in the console page. But for success page, we have to clear the cart. Okay, so we have to make sure that when the user mount, when the component mount, not the user mount, when the component mount, we're going to just clear what we have in local storage. So I already understand we have the cart items, and we have the use at some value, and we have cart. Okay, well, we have cart. Okay, then just cart atom or something. Yeah, cart atom. Okay, use set atom. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I'm just gonna close this out. So use set atom, and next thing we're going to do is we're going to set it. Okay, let's do set cart item. So if you map, we're gonna do this and set it to empty. Okay, so this is good. If you take a look at it, it's either just empty by default, and so on. So when we match to the success page, we want to make sure, oh, we're having this error, you're importing this. Yeah, we basically need to mark this component as a use client component, as a client component. Okay, so yeah, so when we do that, we're just going to try to refresh this. Okay, we're going to refresh it. Boom. Right, boom, it's gone. We no longer have anything within our cart. That means it's successful, good for us. So I'm going to try this one more time before we conclude. I'm going to do some couple of tests before we round it off. And I'm just going to go to shop. Right, I'm going to go to shop. I think I'm going to remove the add to cart thing. I'm not really integrating it, so I'm going to remove it so it's not view cart or view, or just cover it to view. So I think it's better. I'm not really using it for anything. So add cart, add to cart. Okay, I think it's a product card. So So there we go with the button, and okay, icon and the respective whatever. Okay, so we could just copy this one, and so we just review, right? And well, adding to cart is a very sweet thing, but the problem with this is when you add to cart here, um it doesn't really like make much sense, right? But because I think, well, come to think of it, let's just do it. Let's try to add it. Let's add the functionality to add to cart from here. Let's see where we are adding to cart before. Handle add to cart. We have this. Oh, lots of logic here. Lots of logic. Card.find is finding a couple of things. Set a card. Okay, let's remove it for simplicity. We don't want to make it too complex for you guys, right? So okay, so let's do card. So we just call it view product, view product, and we're gonna have it set to an action, and the action is obviously just going to take us here, right? So action, and there we go. So we're gonna route them to this page, which is okay. And obviously, maybe I can just take the view off of here because I don't think it make much sense anymore. Okay, so let's refresh this. Okay, so now let's over what we have. We want this to be at the middle instead, though we're not using it, but it would be better if they're actually, in the middle. Let's see how we're styling our icons. Justify, instead of justify, we're just going to justify between, we're going to justify center. Alright, so let's refresh that, and we have to provide some gap 5. Okay, so wait for it to do. Nice, looks good. It's good. Alright, so you can click on view product. This will take us to the view product screen, and okay, we have to make that we have to make it a good router so we'll know if it's loading or not. Use router should not be from next navigation, but from the next progress library. So that way we can see the progress bar while we click on it. Okay, so I think we have it now. No, we're not. Oh, we do. There we go. And we're just going to refresh it one more time. Okay, let's go back to shop. Okay, so in here, okay, so we could just do view product for this one. Okay, view product, and see it's loading. Sweet, nice. So we can just do 2 of these, add to cart. Okay, good there. Let's check out. Nice. Okay, we have pinget, we have 2. It's actually 500 per piece. And let's place our order. Okay, so it's going to try to do the main thing that it does and redirect us to Stripe. And within Stripe, I'm just going to make our payments. We're going to pay 1,000 bucks for furniture purchase, and after that's going to redirect us to the success screen, right? And we expect nothing to be in our cart anymore. Boom, there we go. We don't have anything in the cart, and everything is successful. So we just made payment, and we could do whatever we want. Then we can check our DB to make sure everything works as expected. We have a new entry, paid entry. Nice. I think with this, we've actually come to the end of this lesson. But before we go, guys, right, before we go, I'm going to test out one more thing. I'm going to go back to the main, go back to shop, I think. Right, I'm going to just pick any random piece of furniture like this one. I'm going to view product. I'm just going to just one is fine. and click on this and check out. All right, so I'm gonna place order right quick. Okay, so it's gonna redirect me to the portal. So what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to pay, right? I'm not going to pay at all. Let's first we just log out of link for some reason. Log out, nice. So we already have this interface, so I'm not going to pay. Let's see back. So let's say once I leave this page, boom. So we can say we have a success screen. We still have the item in our cart as expected. You say we didn't make that payment, and then we have the screen. Yes, gentlemen, I think with this we've come to the end of this lesson and this crash course. Thank you guys for joining up. Definitely catch you on the next one.